Oh, thank you.
You're live.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 20th. The time is 3:11 PM. And we're calling the Board of Estimate and Contract meeting into order. I know that we have a bid opening that we need to do. So you'll do the bid opening, and then I guess after that, we'll do the roll.
I'll read the notice. Today is the Board of Estimate and Contract meeting scheduled today, Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 at 3 PM. We are here at City Hall in the Mayor's Conference Room for a bid opening for Red Light Camera Enforcement System RLC and any such business. Originally, the bid was to be opened April 28th. It was extended to May 5th. It was advertised in the Journal News on April 7th and April 27th. And it was noticed in the Journal News, at the bulletin board in the Rotunda, on our social media platforms, and on the website. Yep.
Right, the bid is from Genoptic Smart Mobility Solutions LLC. The address is 16490 Innovative Drive, Jupiter, Florida, 33478. Okay.
None got no submission. And then after the meeting. Yes.
Let's see a check. Bid amount at this point.
Uh, Oh, it's not a dollar amount, it's,
Revenue
yeah,
sharing
yeah,
proposal.
all right, so give that back, yeah.
Mhm.
And see if there's a bid possible? Oh, I guess, how do you determine?
They're gonna send a bid bond at a future date.
Oh,
We had an addendum and they were unable to secure the bid bond in time.
okay,
Okay.
So the revenue sharing, I mean,
It is a percentage, so you want to read it?
Sure. They propose a revenue sharing model with the city. Their company keep 35% the total monthly fine revenue collected, and the city would retain 65%.
A curiosity for those who remember, what was the last split with the red light camera company? Anybody remember?
We don't remember. We know is that it was upside down, whatever it was.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we'll look at it. See, they're talking about 65% of the revenue and probably thing that they just are gonna carry all of the cost. But we're not actually paying them anything. They're actually operating it itself, which is probably the way the model should have been designed in the first place. But we'll look at it.
Let me do the roll.
I called us.
Oh, Controller Morton,
Present.
Council President Brown,
Here.
Mayor Patterson.
Here, present, here.
Under resolutions approving ordinances, number one, Office of the Mayor, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an updated memorandum of understanding MOU with the Bloomberg Harbor City Leadership Initiative.
We're gonna hold this item. It's gonna go back to council before a vote. There was an amendment after council had the chance to vote on it.
Number two, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the amendment of Article 9, Section 105B, entitled Abatement of Nuisance of the City, of the Code of the City of Mount Vernon.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
We amended just the pricing.
Yeah, amended some language.
Increasing the pricing.
Yeah, increasing the fines and shortening the day for response. I mean, the time for response.
Roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number three, Department of Public Works, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a land lease agreement with Max Joel of Positive Pup Playground for the external area of the animal shelter located at 600 Garden Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, 10550.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So, we basically got this inquiry, through the comptroller's office, in which I then forwarded it off to DPW because it's a city, it's a
Property.
municipal property that it's the city use. And so it's a good thing to be able to utilize it, one, for purpose of providing some services to dogs, and two, for the city to be able to have some revenue come in to one of our facilities that right now is not in use, so. Good thing.
Thank you. Roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay, number four, Department of Public Works, and ordinance authorizing the attendance of the Department of Public Works skilled laborer Brian Whitley at the traffic signal technician training through the International Municipal Signal Association, IMSA, and authorizing expenditure of funds for such purpose.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 5, Department of Recreation, and ordinance authorizing the creation of an additional recreation assistant position in the Department of Recreation, reallocating funds from an existing position and amending the adopted 2025 budget accordingly.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So the money is being transferred from a
Bus line.
bus driver position that is not going to, is that position going to be funded next year?
According to the commissioner, she said that she doesn't need that position funded next year. She needs an assistant instead.
Okay, just want to make sure. Noted, well, budget season,
Mm-hmm.
eliminating one budget, one bus driver.
Roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 6, Department of Recreation. An ordinance authorizing the Department of Recreation to co-sponsor the 2025 Fourth Street Classic Basketball Tournament in partnership with Fourth Street Classic Basketball and Groovy Lou, and officially renaming Fourth Street Park to Gus Williams Park.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So this is a double, okay. So we're approving the event and the
We already
name.
renamed Gus Williams Park. So they want to have a ceremony, revealing a temporary plaque, at this event.
Roll call? Oh,
Insurance.
yes, they have to provide insurance.
I'm good.
Okay.
Long sleep.
Oh, no,
Oh,
and we always make sure liability is shared. Roll call?
Controller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 7, Department of Public Safety, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding MOU to partner with Westchester County on the STRIVE initiative under the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, DCJS.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? So on the question, the STRIVE initiative is a new initiative out of Governor Hochul's office, focusing on domestic violence in the state, providing additional services. And so it will provide us with several staff people who will be able to provide counseling and partnership with an agency. We'll have a partnership through the Wellness Division that will provide additional support services to those who are dealing with domestic violence. We'll also be able to have someone in the police department kind of dedicated to doing the data analysis, as well as delivering and serving people who have had orders of protection, temporary orders of protection and restraining orders against them. The city of Mount Vernon has the highest rate of domestic violence in the county, and I believe we had over 640 incidents last year. And when you don't have kind of a dedicated person in the PD to deliver those restraining orders, it can be a real challenge. So we want to make sure that we receive this funding that will allow us to be able to provide enhanced services to individuals of domestic and intimate partner violence. So. Roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 8, Office of the Comptroller, an ordinance authorizing a budget transfer from the contingency to City Council outside contracted services to support legal services for the Charter Review Commission.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So this, request actually it's coming from my office because of the, communication received from the Charter Revision Commission through the chair, related to legal services should, or when they, have determined what it is that, is to be on the, ballot, in November, to draft, all of those materials related, to that. At present, their budget, for this year is primarily pretty much spent. And so there was no funding. The money is coming typically for that operation comes through an outside contracted line for the council, which the council, without knowing exactly how much this is gonna cost and all of that. Right, we could not determine whether it would mean that line would be over. So the best course of action was to transfer money from the contingency line. As you know, municipal accounting, we cannot expend from the contingency line. We have to transfer it. So we're transferring it that. I did a calculation based upon an estimation. If there's need for additional funding, then the commission has been told that they, as we get to that, close to that point, they need to come back to me and we can look and see what if then, so.
I just have a question. Is there an established process by which the Charter Review Commission kind of does their business? Because, there's been quite a bit of communication and it seems like there's not communication and agreement within the Charter Commission as to how they kind of come to the agreement of entering into contracts. I mean, we as the city, I as the mayor don't just get to enter into a contract and request money and things of that nature. But it seems when it comes to the Charter Review Commission that there is no real set process, and that they're requesting expenditure of funds without going through any type of vote or anything like that within the Charter Review Commission. And so I think we might need to look at what their standards are. I mean, I have no problem authorizing this, but I think if they're going to continue to request money, that they have to have a clear process. I mean, that's what they're reviewing and they're looking at our process, but they don't have a process. So just like all of us have to work kind of within budgets, I think we need to hold them to a standard of having a process by which they do their business. Else they just kind of keep requesting money and we don't even know if they have agreement on it as a committee. So, I mean, that's just for the record. I know it's not going to be popular to say, but you can't have no standards for them when we have so many standards and they're reviewing the standards. And there just don't seem to be any standards for the Charter Review Commission at this time. I'm just putting it out
No,
there.
I don't know, I mean, I can't talk about, I don't know about the inner workings of the Charter Revision Commission. I do know, based upon an email that we did receive from, I guess, at least one of the advisory members, is that they actually did come up with, rules of engagement. I do know that
An
actually.
advisory member or a Charter Review Commission member?
Again, the email we got that had the attachment, or at least that I got, that had the attachment of the rules of engagement came from the advisory member. There was a previous email that had come from a member of the Charter Commission. So at the end of the day, all I know is that there is a document that actually has rules of engagement for that. But, that is something that is inner workings of.
Can that be shared with me? 'Cause I didn't receive that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll forward what I have, but yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think that, that inner workings of that, is the Charter Revision Commission. As I did communicate to them that, their stuff just needs to come through as it's approved by the Charter Revision Commission. So, that's all I can say. But I mean, other than that, I'm not involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not either.
Just a question on, is there an internal mechanism in place so that if they get close to the threshold of the $25,000, that they're aware of it and they're.
So my communication with the chair, via email was that, we'll monitor it. My office will monitor the expenditures once they have decided, because at this point, the Charter Revision Commission doesn't even know, exactly, they haven't determined what are going to be the items. Once they do that, then they would be able to actually narrow the scope of the work that the actual attorney is going to do, right, on that. And as the attorney would then be able to give us a projection of what that is. And as they draw down on the money, we'll be able to tell if they're getting closer to it. And that meets with the time frame in which the attorney, I would assume, is giving us based upon the scope and the retainer costs, hourly costs for the work. That's how, at least I had agreed with the Charter Revision Chair that we would monitor it.
Thank you.
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
9, Department of Buildings and Ordinance authorizing the reallocation of funds from the code enforcement officer position to fund a temporary help position in the Department of Buildings.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
Okay. So with all that is going on in the building department, we have an empty code enforcement officer position. What's I guess it's a twofold question. One, what is, I guess, the plan as it pertains to filling that position? Is it going to be fulfilled at all? Have they determined it's necessary? And if so, then what's the plan to kind of do that? Because we're hearing so much about code enforcement stuff, right? On that. And secondly, I guess, is the temporary help person a person that's going to be doing some of those duties or doing something totally separate from what the code enforcement officer position is designed to do?
I mean, the temporary help person is doing more of clerk work to help move some of the applications that are in the office. We have advertised for code enforcement officers. It's not a wide universe of code enforcement officers out there. Some of the code enforcement officers that we've brought on, we've, kind of had to train from scratch. And so, but right now there still continues to be a backlog of application. Well, not a backlog of applications. There's increasing applications coming in. And so we want to move what we can move now. And we are hiring on and bringing on a code enforcement officer in DPW is being trained and taking their first part of the test tomorrow. And an ordinance officer that is coming on that will also support the building department and those things. So we've been trying to recruit these positions. I can tell you, as the immediate past chair of OMOA, we've been working with the county as well as a lot of the other cities, towns, and villages, because those positions are becoming more and more difficult to fill. And then even once we fill them, especially with people who are not experienced, it takes about 6 months to get someone ready to hit the streets. So we're not giving up on the position. It's just right now, instead of continuing to just keep that position in empty and still needing help processing an increasing number of applications that are coming in for permits and orders, certificate of occupancy and things like that. They're looking to, that's why it says temporary help.
So two follows to it. So one is that it is part of the reason why we are having a challenge with hiring, because there's just a dearth of people qualified to do it or interested in doing it? Or is it because it's not competitive enough against from a salary standpoint? Or a combination of both?
It is both. It is both. Like I said, literally sitting with 45 communities in the county of Westchester, civil service positions are becoming more difficult to hire People are not applying at the level, not just in Mount Vernon, but all throughout the county. Um, and so we actually are looking to meet with the Department of State and the New York State Department of Labor, partner with the county and maybe Westchester Community College to see how for long-term sustainability of cities, that we can create some training programs and some pathway programs in the high schools and the local community colleges to even move people in the direction of these type of positions, because this is a universal issue. It makes it a little bit more difficult for Mount Vernon because we're not as competitive, but there is just, this is a position that, you know, kind of used to be generational and people aren't applying. They're not continuing this work and it's an entry level position as a code enforcement officer. Many people who are going to stay in that field are going to move on to an inspector or working in electrical or some other type of location in carpentry space. So it's something that we've been looking at throughout the county and actually throughout the state. We've been talking about it at NICOM as well. So challenging positions to fill.
And the last thing, I guess, is we were not about the code enforcement, but about the temporary help. So if not, can we have somebody do an efficiency study in the building department on, I'm trying to figure out we moved to OpenGov. Most people are supposed to be going through OpenGov. So technology is supposed to streamline the process, minimize the clerical kind of functionality of stuff, but it appears as if the needle on the processing stuff of it is not moving as swiftly as I would hope that it is. And I'm just wondering, and maybe it's a combination of the building department in my office doing something, just looking at it. We got to look at it, even with OpenGov, just to see. Because I'm
And I
just
think
concerned.
so we have this whole building department transformation committee and they're even looking at OpenGov, right? If there are plugins to OpenGov that add to alerts and some of the things that we need for OpenGov to do. And so that's one of the things that they've been looking at. We brought OpenGov as a system and we are learning more about the imperfections or what needs to be added, kind of like, whenever you add a component or a module onto something downstairs to do something more of what you need it to do. And we're trying to see if OpenGov can provide some of that. And they're also looking to add, I believe, an AI piece to it as well. And yeah, that will help it.
That should provide functionality from the citizen standpoint, where we should be able to get information, be more informed, get updates on it. And hopefully with that technology to provide updates in terms of the next minute.
Okay, but we basically, though, that we are actually exploring those and looking at all of these things, right? Because
The backlog has reduced itself. The increase in applications continues to be a challenge. What is the name of the company that did the study before in the building department?
CGR, thank you.
CGR. So CGR did the study. It talked about several of the positions that we needed. It talked about we needed more than what we added, right? So we know there's still kind of a deficit in the level of staffing. And it also spoke to the competitiveness of the salaries. And then with OpenGov, yes, we're sending people through it, but from what I'm understanding is there's not necessarily an alert in the system that alerts you when people upload some of the documents that you've gone in and told them they need to upload. And so, it almost requires the clerks to go back in the system every day to see if people are uploading things as opposed to the system notifying you that something's been uploaded. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense of what you're saying. It doesn't make sense that there's no way to have that happen.
That's what we're working is to find out if there is a plugin, if there is an addition.
We're trying to add the intelligence to let the public know you're making an application, these are the documents that are required. They can upload anything. So we're hoping that the AI will be able to say, you uploaded these documents, that's not the right information. This is what we actually need.
Right, but what I hear, I think the mayor saying is that it's the other side. That side, that's fine. That will help that. From a standpoint of making sure that the constituent knows exactly what they need to submit and how to submit it and all of that. But what I hear the mayor saying is that once they do that though, right, given the volume of things that are being submitted and all that, that there's no alert, like an email or something else that goes to the person in the office to tell them that Darren Morton uploaded his site plan.
They should get an email whenever a document is uploaded. And so whenever the application is submitted, they get an email when payment is made and when their uploads made to the system. Whether the uploads are correct or not, they won't know until they check.
But okay, so at the end of the day, then let's look into this, because I don't understand, maybe it's something that they've not actually activated on their end for them to do that, because I know that, yeah, when somebody submits something,
Yeah.
you know, when we were taking application stuff for the real estate committee and that we were getting these notices and
Right.
somebody did something. So there's got to be a way to do it, but we just got to figure out, okay, got it.
And
Thank you.
another suggestion is maybe to streamline it as opposed to each clerk getting, maybe there's a clerk email address for buildings that all the notifications go to, and the office manager can help facilitate some of the workflow. Just a suggestion, I don't.
And that might work, but based upon the way, at least, now I'll go back to my chief of staff days. Based upon the way in which they actually divide up the who's assigned, that might get sent to somebody centrally, and it may mess up the system. So there has to be a way, and again, if we gotta pay, if it helps us with efficiency though, and we gotta pay somebody from OpenGov in their tech staff to write whatever it is, the programming, the script, whatever it is to do that, then I think it's to our advantage to do that. If we need for them to do that, where it can go to the person that it has gotten assigned to. But we just need to look into it.
Yeah, and I mean, and one of the other issues, honestly, in the building department, I'm gonna be transparent, is, you know, we've lost some strong staff due to situations that had nothing to do with salary. I mean, this other personnel issues, right? And so when you had strong people and they're no longer available, or not currently available, it's a challenge. So we are working with multiple challenges
Yeah,
that we're trying to address. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
okay, thank you.
Roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 10, control an ordinance establishing a temporary tax interest amnesty program for commercial properties.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President.
Ready to say something on the phone?
I was,
Well, I only was going to try to just bring some additional clarity to it. I mean, the bottom line is that we've done this before and then something popped in my head, which kind of got me stuck, which we have to deal with later. With owner occupied residential. And so now we're actually extending this out because there was such a outcry of people calling that are multifamily commercial saying, well, is there any program for us to be able to try to get this cured? And so in conversation again with the council, we looked at it and came up with a reasonable kind of suggestion, which is to reduce it, not necessarily waive the entire amount, but reduce it to a reasonable amount, which I think is fair to do. What was stuck in my head as I was talking is that now there's a group that is not included in even, which is the non-owner, non-occupied own residential. So it just, I mean, it just came right, but we'll deal with that.
I mean, are we non-owner occupied residential?
Meaning,
Income houses?
yeah, so to me, right, yeah,
Right.
right.
I don't have as, I mean, I don't get to make a decision on any of that because that's handled by you and the council's office, but I'm less inclined. I'm just saying, I'm less inclined. There are straight income properties and many of them don't keep their properties up well. They don't necessarily care about our community and how they rent and maintain and bring people in. And then they don't want to pay their taxes. I mean, people who live here, who are invested here, fine. People who just want to make money off of our community and disrespect our community, I'm less inclined.
I hear it. I hear it. My only thing is that, yeah, that also may be true in the commercial. They're making revenue. They don't necessarily live here, and necessarily whatever, but now because of the classification, they've gotten something this group has not. So if at anything, it might be that that group falls into the commercial group as well. If at anything, maybe, but it's just that it popped in my head and as I was doing, but go ahead. Thank you.
Council President Brown?
Aye.
Thank you. Mayor Patterson Howard?
Aye.
Request to authorize partial payment, Department of Public Works. Number 11, Department of Public Works, a resolution authorizing partial payment number 13 for sewer system rehabilitation Phase 1 to National Water Main Cleaning Company.
So moved.
Second,
On the question?
you know my question.
WQIP, reimbursement is eligible for the pre-financing loan.
Okay, what's my follow-up question?
As George looked at it, yes.
What's my follow-up question?
When we get the funding.
I'm so glad that you know. How long is that process for that reimbursement?
The WQIP reimbursement is about 1 month, but we attach this to the request for pre-financing. So they provide us the money ahead of time. We pay it and we get the reimbursement and pay back.
All right, I'm good.
It's not hurting the cash flow necessarily. Okay. Roll call?
Comptroller Morton?
Aye.
Council President Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard?
Aye, but that's definitely was a benefit of us having that discussion with them about the pre-financing loans like a revolving fund. So, knowing that city's cash flow is not always strong. And so that definitely helps. And we might have to have a conversation around whether or not we need to expand it a little bit as the amount and the pace of the work picks up. Have we ever gotten to a place where we were at kind of the limit for it?
Yes, their maximum for each request is 2.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
So the first request, we were at about 2.2.
Okay.
So depending on the amount of work they do, it extends the time in which we have to wait to put in another request to pay off the remainder of the invoices.
So we might want to talk about maybe increasing it a little bit. Okay. Next.
Under retainer, number 12, engagement letter to retain the Oxman Law Group PLLC.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So this is related to the tax lien sale process. As you know, and the public I guess should know based upon all of the communications that now have gone out, is that process, we're moving forward to try to get that process done by the end of June, at least started by the end of June. It is a very tedious, a very legal kind of process. There's several notices and things of that must go out. Not necessarily that it would void any of the action, but there is some guidelines around that. So therefore, we need kind of the assistance of the attorneys to that have expertise around this area. This is our first time doing this really in these modern times. And what we don't want to do is end up kind of not executing it properly. And so, this is why we're asking for this. In addition to that, whatever these costs are, we also will catalog, because those will also be tagged on to what are the costs for the actual tax liens themselves. And so that's the reasoning behind this, because it will help us to kind of expedite this as best as we possibly can.
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Number 13, a resolution authorizing the retention of the law office of Kristen K. Wilson as special counsel to assist the Charter Revision Committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question? Hearing none, roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye. Was there a question?
No. I was just trying to make sure. At first, I saw two different things, so I just wanted to make sure right one in front of me, the right amounts that was on
All right.
the hourly rates.
Is there any objection to taking the settlements as a block vote?
No.
All right, so I move to take item 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 as a block vote.
Second.
Roll call?
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
All right, that is to take items 14 through 18, right, as a block vote. 14, settlement of claim of Cynthia McMullen, $950. Number 15, settlement of claim of Geico, also known Toy Williams Lloyd, $7,000. Number 16, settlement of claim of Allstate Insurance Company as Suburgi, thank you, of Bennett Fox, $17,000. Number 17, settlement of claim of filed by Leticia Sotero, $80,000. Number 18, settlement of claim of Camille Mamet, $4,783.73.
Move.
Second.
On the question?
So on the question, council spoke about this a lot over the past couple of days with legal counsel, just about there being a lot of car accidents and no real repercussions for folks. So some folks are just getting back out and getting into additional accidents. So want to look into some type of policy where if we're negotiating contracts that we're doing drug testing after an accident, or there's some type of write-up or some kind of repercussion, so that we're not just wasting taxpayer money on continuous automobile accidents with repeat drivers. So just want to put that on the record.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that we have to implement some sort of more stringent risk management kind of policy around vehicle use. I know we've already started with monitoring the status of licenses, driver licenses. We do have a sense system in all of our areas. We may not be able to, I know there was some conversation around trying to centralize it. It may be really impossible to really do that because of the uniqueness around some of the things like in recreation, which also is going to have to happen also in youth bureau with the deployment of the new vehicles. Because that adds another layer it adds the 19A requirement. Right, to those, police again have a different kind of level of requirements, and so does the fire. So right now, I think we have probably 4 of those driver license kind of systems in place. We have the main one. We have recreation that also has a 19A to attach to it. And then we have fire and police that we know of, right? We could make the decision that fire and police and recreation, well, recreation is already included in the main one. But fire and police, if we wanted it, they would have to then also doubly basically give it to the departments, but also give it into a centralized. That could be an option for it, just so that it's there. But nevertheless, as a part of that, and we need to have these ongoing kind of trainings, defensive driving stuff, all that stuff happening. Some of our new insurance actual companies actually will provide some of those services, because when we negotiated those contracts last year and this year, we made sure that we had some of that in there. So we probably need to decide, Madam Mayor, of kind of what office or a combination of offices will monitor that. Right? I think that's what.
And I know additionally in DPW, the commissioners pretty much set forth a mandate that anyone that is hired in DPW really already come with their CDL. Right? And you know why that's important if you're being hired as a sanitation worker or if you're being hired as a laborer or something of that nature, because when drivers are out and someone has to get behind the truck, we want to make sure that they already have their CDL, and that doesn't limit us or cause us to have to go into overtime to bring other people in and things of that nature to handle that, and that everyone who's driving has a level of experience. They've been doing some extra trainings on weekends down at the DPW yard with workers, and I'm just saying DPW, not because this is DPW, but because, you know, that the commissioner there has moved forward on making some adjustments to, you know, hiring. It seems really interesting. We did a job fair a few weeks ago and there were about 60 hiring companies there, and about 13 of them were looking for CDL drivers. So people who are watching, if you're looking for work, everyone's looking for CDL drivers right now, CDL licensed individuals, commercials, you know, people with commercial driver's licenses. So
Just make sure, I'm sure you're doing it, but just make sure that that's in, that they're changing the job specs, not just the right. And may want to consider.
And it will go partially, it will go because we're in the process of working on the union contract right now. So it'll go in that and the job specs. All right, roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
Okay.
Any opposition to take in items 19 through 22 as a block vote? All right, I move to take items 19, 20. This is odd. 21 and 22 is marked as 22 and 22 though. All the remaining items on the agenda as a block vote.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
Aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
All right, 19, resolution for tax settlement, 60 West Broad Street, Inc., $58,123.67. Number 20, resolution for tax settlement, 210 West LLC for property located at 135 Sydney Avenue, $3,317.24. Resolution for tax settlement, 210 West LLC for property located at 139 Sydney Avenue, $3,856.45. That should be number 21. And number 22, resolution for tax settlement, 41 South Avenue, RE Corp., $2,762.68.
So moved.
Second.
On the question?
So Few things. It's West Broad. Got a bill. That's the,
Inc.
that building that's down there right across from the, parking lot. Right before the bridge. Okay, no, never mind.
Not sure.
Whichever.
Here it is.
Yep, okay, yep, that's what I thought, okay. And we know that probably what it's valued at is not what it really is. But yet we paying out this, right? Because we've been talking about it, right? The fact that we need to do a revow and all of that, so, I did ask the assessor to try to get an idea again, updated a number of what that cost would be for us to do a revow. I am in conversation right now also with, GFOA, as part of the initiative that we did also with putting access to work, about that identifying, monies that might be available to, help and assist, maybe not cover all of the costs. I will probably try to have more conversations if I do go to the GFA conference that's in Washington DC, but I haven't decided if I'm gonna go there or not. But I think we have to really, if I'm gonna say this to also the other elected, if you hear of anything or can explore even in your circles, if there are any possible funding sources or anything around this, I think this is one of those more critical items in which we really need to do. And if push come to shove, we may have to then consider that we may have to look at if there's any possibility of going out for a ban or something. Please to get this done, because it just may be we can't, well, I mean, I'm not saying do it right now, but we have to at least explore all of these options. Because that is one of
sitting
the
ducks.
things that is right now important for us. Okay,
Mhm. I am in full support and, trust me, I've been speaking to them in the county and state level as to what might be available. Yeah, because we're not the only community, but we are one of the communities that is probably longest out on an assessment. So, okay. Roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye.
That concludes the agenda.
Do we need to change the number of 22, 23? I mean, just.
No, it's just 21 and 22. We'll change
Okay.
it, on the official copy.
All right. Thank you. Oh, do we have a
Have some comments.
motion to, okay,
Just one comment. Today is election day. So there's a school board election. There's also a library trustee election. You should go out and vote. Make sure your voice is heard. Polls are open until 9 p.m. And you can check online for your polling site if you don't know where it is. That's all I have. Motion. I move during this meeting.
Second,
roll call.
Comptroller Morton,
aye.
Council President Brown,
Aye.
Mayor Patterson Howard.
Aye, and I'll be going away for a few days. I am very excited. It's been 4 years. So,